much. So I think we've all heard about the importance of ECD and ECCE, right? And I think what Mr. Honorable Secretary, School Education this morning spoke to us about was the demography, right? And the power of India's demography, right? And similarly, Honorable CEO Niti Aayog also mentioned how we're missing out because most in 2047, if we want to reach our goals of Amrit Kal, right, we have very few years left to grab their attention and cause this movement of change, right? So a couple of things mentioned there was like a Jan Andolan or a people's movement for this to happen. But I think the biggest factor that hasn't been highlighted so far is the humongous power and the role of tech and technology and what it can do and how it can transform so many different barriers around us, right? We've heard from several government stakeholders here about the importance of monitoring and making sure that we're able to deliver maximum public value. In relation to that, sir, what I would actually love to speak to you about is, Digital India and NEGD. How does your vision and strategy come into play when we're talking about Amrit Kal and we're talking about this demography of power? What sort of initiatives do you think will lead us there and help us bring in that India and that Amrit Kal?
Thank you, Vishal. And I must say, the previous panel was giving a glimpse about what all technology can do. Like while we have been talking about the Digital India revolution and about how we are one of the most one of the countries which has used technology for social transformation in a way which no other country has done, whether it's building a identity platform with 1.4 billion Aadhaar numbers or whether it's adopting digital payments and being the world's largest volume of digital payments happens in India. Like almost 46% of the entire digital payments happens in India. And what we've also seen is that adoption of technology by people by and large has been very fast. We have leapfrogged from landline phones to mobile internet, and the expansion of 5G and availability of low-cost internet and availability of smartphones has ensured that technology has reached almost every corner of India. In fact, the recent ASAR report that was brought out by Pratham also mentions that more than 90% of Indian kids, 90% girls and 95% boys actually know how to use a smartphone. Access to smartphones have also been expanded greatly. And today it's being used to offer multiple services. COVID-19 was a big inflection point that also led to expansion of e-services in a great manner. If you look at a platform like Diksha, Diksha is a K-12 learning platform which has got content available for all school kids in 36 Indian languages. Its adoption expanded greatly during COVID-19. And after that, when we have implemented projects like Poshan Tracker, which is being used by Anganwadi workers, we heard from some of them, to monitor the health and nutrition parameters of newborn children and pregnant women, we saw how it could quickly be expanded to more than 14 lakh Anganwadi workers, collecting data of 10 crore pregnant women and infant children with very low cost phones in low connectivity areas, and generating so much of data points that it has led to so many immense opportunities of monitoring the nutritional health of children. Like today with the data that's generated, and more than 20 crore data points are generated every day, using that we are able to monitor which child will be severely malnourished or moderately malnourished, and what interventions need to be taken. Alerts can be sent to the Anganwadi worker, and that Anganwadi worker can focus on the child which is likely to be malnourished and take necessary steps to make the child come back to normal health. So that is the power of technology that has been there. With the expansion of this, today, for early childhood education, we can leverage this strength that we have, this network that we have, to offer content in mother tongue as the new education policy requires, and ensure that education in the Anganwadi centers and the primary schools happens with the best possible content that can be given. We do have shortage of quality teachers. That problem can be solved. In very remote locations, I worked in Nagaland and other places, we have seen that there is a shortage of quality science teacher, maths teacher. But if I have quality content, it can be rendered through the mobile phone, through these projects which have been implemented, and it can really change the way we are bringing up our newborn children and the school kids, and ensure that they are able to benefit from technology. So technology has immense applications in other sectors, but I'll just mention the early childhood and school education sector in which it can transform the way we are running our programs.
Absolutely. So I think, Kuntav, I think you're the biggest advocate of this and have said it exactly the right way, right? The multiplier effect and the last mile effect is truly something that's amazing. And the best tech around us changes the way that we behave and interface with the world, right? So kudos to you for building so many such great platforms that we all use every day. Talking about platforms that we use every day, Shivnata, I'd love to come to you, right? Current estimates are there are about 600 million smartphones. Maybe you have better estimates than me, actually. But you know, what are the major trends in the technology space, and what do you feel the role of Meta in promoting social good has been and will be going forward? What are some of the initiatives that you'd like to highlight for us as examples and touchstones?
Sure. Firstly, thanks so much for inviting me, and it's always good to meet Abhishek at such panels because it's very difficult to catch up with him. But you know, I want to start by saying before I talk about Meta is I'm absolutely how do I say thankful and a lot of gratitude to all the people in this room. Because of them, the success of the story that Abhishek just said is happening. If Anganwadi workers, if mothers, if social workers, if health experts, अगर ये हमारा product ना adopt करते, so the whatever technology you can build, it will not be successful. So firstly, thank you to all of you for kind of being those adopters and early adopters in a lot of way. And I say this because Abhishek and I discovered each other in a very unfortunate circumstance of COVID, right? I just got a call saying, oh, WhatsApp, you need to figure out building a solution which is en masse COVID, and our product was not even mature. So it is he who pushed saying, what do you mean it cannot happen? Treat us as like a guinea pig and figure out a solution. So during peak of COVID, wearing masks, we were sitting in his office, figuring out how to sneeze and what is the right way to do it. Then he's directing his team, this guy said, video banao. You will not believe it, at the most basic fundamental level that the work was driven because of Abhishek's leadership during peak of COVID, when people were scared to come out of their houses to find solution. It is he who pushed us to think beyond WhatsApp being a messaging service. Now that was just the beginning. I think thanks to people in this audience, as I just said, it grew so fast. We were ourselves shocked. I mean, Priya is from WhatsApp in my team, and I can tell you, our systems got overwhelmed by the rapid adoption of whatever was coming out of source, which is the government, because it had to be credible, had to be recognized, had to be someone which could be backed by medical evidence. So, and if you remember at that time, everybody was coming up with some advice or the other. The government stepped in, thankfully, to say, at least on this, listen to government's advice. So that was the starting point, what happened. How it then evolved, what we quickly learned is, any commercial company, if I make it sound like, oh, we are doing it just for social good, it will sound extremely condescending and philanthropic. So let's be very honest that every capitalist-owned company is here to make money. But what we discovered is that our commercial offering itself had such a scope for social impact. And by the way, we did precious little. It is the ecosystem partners who did a lot. And some of them are in this room. I mean, you guys are one of them, right? To tell us how education can be delivered via WhatsApp. Government told us how can information be disseminated. We were partners with so many state governments to deliver education during the peak of COVID. So when I say COVID, like Abhishek said, COVID was the inflection point, absolutely. But that was just the beginning. What we soon realized is, yes, the product had numbers, over 600 million users. Product had the capability of simplicity and the security of usage. And then what became important is the power of Indian innovation. And I think that is, I mean, has just blown us away. Blown us away to the extent that our global teams can't believe the kind of innovation which is coming to India. And I'll give you one or two examples in the social impact space and one or two examples in the commercial space. In the social impact space, for example, post-COVID, what we saw, companies starting scale-up such as yours, such as in the medical space, Step One. There are many such examples where we saw communities coming together and how to deploy medical advice in a closed, safe environment to users based on a chatbot. So that was one such example. Then in our AR/VR devices, we were quite surprised with the ability of the Indian entrepreneur to innovate. So out of IIT Chennai came Merkel, which uses now the AR/VR device to train nurses on resuscitation of the child, because it's too risky to train a nurse on a live child, right? So that was the second example on the AR/VR side. On the commercial side, to deliver insurance, including KYC on a WhatsApp chatbot flow, became a revelation for us. So irrespective of the sector, but definitely for the social impact sector, education became a use case. In fact, in the new education policy for the state of Madhya Pradesh, WhatsApp is actually mentioned, saying it is because of WhatsApp during COVID that education could continue. It could not. Now, there were challenges such as household having one phone. Challenges sometimes of the child not using a high-end smartphone, so how do you download homework, etc. And that's where you people all came in, right? So I think if I now kind of draw the entire arc, role of the government, role of everybody in the room, people who were the early adopters, then the role of the ecosystem partners who could innovate on that, I think we have a winning formula. One last thing, as an American company, I can tell you, if we solve for scale complexity, for a country like India, I think we can lead this whole innovation story to a completely new level.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I think those are such great examples there, right? I think one of the examples that you covered piqued my interest, which was capacity building in nurses, right? Sir, I'd actually like to come back to you for that, right? So how do we think about Potion Tracker and Diksha, both as tools as capacity building of frontline workers? What are the challenges been, right? And what is the vision that you have for it, right? What is the massive power that you can wield, and what is the vision that you have for this?
Like as we already mentioned, like about how technology allows us to reach every nook and corner of the country. And even if I can't send quality teachers, can I send teachers through the virtual mode? So, or can I use technology to build capacities of teachers who are teaching? Because the way things are changing and expanding, it's always necessary to continuously learn, relearn, upskill your capabilities. So what we have seen is that on Diksha, there is a section called Nishtha. Nishtha deals with building capacities of teachers, training teachers so that they are able to impart quality education. Sometimes if they don't have visual elements, or if they don't have teaching and learning materials, and for the foundation FLN model in the new education policy, those things are very, very required. So they can use a video as a teaching and learning aid, and use it, even a video on a mobile phone, to explain how things work. Like if they have to explain chemical reactions, or if we explain photosynthesis, or how growth takes place in plants, or how respiration takes place, how digestive system works, how various scientific concept or planetary system and all. Sometimes if we are able to do that with a visual mode, that really, really makes people understand better and understand the concepts better. So Nishtha has a component wherein there is a lot of content which is being used to train teachers, build their capacities in doing that. On Potion Tracker also, what we have seen is that Anganwadi workers are one of the most, if I can say that they are the one of the most, they are paid for part-time jobs. They are not very highly paid. They are not very highly qualified. They are recruited, and there is no formal system of their training. ऐसा नहीं है कि आंगनवाड़ी worker कोई select हुई, या even ASHA workers for that matter. They are selected, they are immediately deployed on the job. And most of the learning that they have is on the job, very little interaction with the CDPOs, and very often the interaction also that happens at the CDPO at the block level is more with regard to reviews and seeing क्या काम किया, क्या नहीं किया, attendance क्या है, वहाँ पीने का पानी है या नहीं. So it's more like review mechanism rather than building their capacities. But with use of technology and with use like of a tool like Potion Tracker, what it has helped is that they have kind of understood that how they can do their job easier and better. They're here, they can explain that better. But what we also seen is that when we had to train them about various functionalities, various modules on the Potion Tracker, we could make small videos and share it with them through WhatsApp channels. Because when you have a video on your WhatsApp phone, if you are stuck, अगर आपको कोई module पे entry करनी and you are not able to do that, you can always go back and see that video and do that. So that becomes a very, very powerful learning tool. Then we have also built in several modules like notifications on the Poshan Tracker app itself. The in-app learning is something that can be leveraged to a great extent. We are building it, we're not totally there, but that can become a very, very powerful tool about not only doing their job, but they can be used for other things also, like good hygiene practices, good sanitation practices. Suppose there is an outbreak of a dengue or something, what they can do to prevent themselves from doing that. What they can otherwise do for literacy, what they can do for financial literacy, what savings mean, how it can be used for self-help groups. In fact, we are doing that in another project that we are working with Ministry of Rural Development, wherein we are automating the work which self-help groups do. And we are digitizing their meeting registers and their ledgers, that interloaning that they also do. So there also the LOC-OS, we are calling that LOC-OS, and now of course being branded as the Lakpati Didi campaign, under which the endeavor is to create 2 crore Lakpati Didi. So there also on the app, we are trying to build content that can be shared with the users of the self-help group or the Anganwadi worker in the case of Poshan Tracker in the local language. Very simple, easy to use. And when we create that content, I always tell my team that look at physics wala, look at content which is engrossing, which is short, which is snackable, not very long, not very theoretical, anecdotal examples of what has been done elsewhere and how people can benefit from them, learn from them. So in these ways, technology can play a great, great role in capacity building. In fact, in the another role that I have on Mission Karmyogi, where we are building in, we are working for capacity building of government servants. And when we talk of government servants, it ranges from the highest levels to the grassroots level. So whether it's panchayat workers or whether it's police constables in police stations or Anganwadi workers or ASHA workers or panchayat secretaries or general engineers, for all of them we are trying to create digital content, e-content, make it accessible through a mobile platform in a short, snackable, easy to consume manner, and not very long videos, not theoretical examples, case study based, and ensure that people see them, learn them, and try to be kind of in a way addicted to that platform. So the continuous learning takes place. So these are the ways in which we are leveraging technology for building capacities, and we are seeing good results in this.
Wonderful, sir. I think that deserves an applause for sure. I think those are all very, very innovative, exciting initiatives from your end on that. And talking about short, addictive, very catchy content, you know, WhatsApp, Meta, all superb platforms for parental engagement, peer-to-peer apps. What do you feel, what are some examples and what do you feel the role of these mass apps go as far as general education or parental engagement, right? And what are some of the models you've seen work and can simulate that Jan Andol that we're talking about, right? That people's movement. The people's movement doesn't have to be on the streets, but now it's on, you know, your platforms like WhatsApp and Instagram, right? The short videos and so on.
On a lighter vein, during elections, to talk about Jan Andolan is a little tricky, so I will avoid that. But, you know, to kind of push Abhishek a little bit, I like to spar with him, so don't mind. So, like, for example, one of the things we keep pushing Abhishek, because he's one of the thinkers, innovators in the government, is what is our role as a company which, as you rightly said, across Meta apps, a cumulative basis would be over 1 billion users on our platform just in India. I think where we come in are as ecosystem partners. We are an enabler. We will never get into the business of providing financial service or health service, so we are not, we'll always be a platform. So think of it like an operating system, right? So you build on it. So that's the way we look at ourselves. So that's number one. The second is what we are seeing trends in the world, and I keep telling Abhishek, is that there is app fatigue in the country. If there is app fatigue in the country, how do you make sure that you build on an operating system which is already being used on a daily basis? So I think when I look at the monthly active user on WhatsApp, yes, it's in the range of over 500 million users. And then now the question you may ask is, but it is not on the low-end phones, etc. But those are a matter of time. Those things will get solved. But I push every time anybody comes to me and says, I'm building an app, I'm saying, why are you building an app? When your entire solution can be provided through a flow based on very interesting, short, bite-sized content is the way you need to go. I mean, that is why Rocket Learning has created such a extensive child knowledge kind of enhancement system. I think that is one part of it as to how do you leverage us? How do you kind of ride on the last mile connectivity that we have? The same with the financial services sector. Why is it that today many banks are sending you notifications? Yes, sometimes spammy, which we are trying to address, but mostly banks are sending you notifications for all transactions, non-money related on WhatsApp. Because they know my customer is definitely on WhatsApp. Now, who will download an app again? So that's one part of the story that we're looking at. The second part is, are we doing enough to support and grow the ecosystem? And the honest answer is no, we are not. We need to do more. We need to partner with people like you. We need to partner with Abhishek to showcase more and more successful possibilities that exist and then build on it. And which is where the other two platforms come in, Vishal. It's like, where is Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp in the larger scheme of things? We feel there's a different demographics. I mean, the general joke is, looking at my color of the hair, everybody says, Facebook is for you, Instagram is not for you. Like, that's the way they tell me, right? But I think if you look at your need for engagement on your digital device, you will find your own calling. People say, my day starts with WhatsApp, apart from the good morning messages, right? So when your day starts with WhatsApp and ends with WhatsApp, we have to see what kind of intervention exists, right? And which is where we have to capture it. Can it be captured for education? Can it be captured for health? So it is beginning to happen. That's one part of it. And Instagram, very, very critical for parental education, because that is where their children are. As much as parents don't like it, that is where children like to spend a lot of time on, which is like sometimes the challenge, and which is why we have a lot of the safety tools. So I think if you look at the positioning, and that's why Facebook, if I ever meet a politician, they always tell me, oh, aapka Facebook na mere rural constituency mein bahut chalta hai. So it is very clear as to how they themselves see the need of the platform. So I think we have a role to play, and I think we need to do a lot more when it comes to creating and growing the ecosystem than where we are today, because the benefits are immense.
Yeah, thank you so much for the support so far also. And yeah. One big thing that both of you have spoken about is massive adoption, data, and what we can do with it, right? So you spoke about notification system, you spoke about, how you're able to study patterns of users and provide best services to them. What I'd love to hear about is, the thought of the day, right? Which is, or of the year rather, which is AI, right? So with all of this data, it gives us massive potential for being leaders in AI, right? India being the leader of the next AI generation as such. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, how do you leverage AI for good, AI for public partnerships, and social.
Of course, AI has become a buzzword, and though it's been there around for long, but especially with the advent of generative AI, we all have become, more and more people have realized that they are actually using AI. They might have been using in some other form, but they didn't know that this is AI. So people relate ChatGPT or an interface therein, they can talk to an app as the use of AI. So when we look at India's requirement and potential of AI, the one big area which I feel will make a big impact, it's already doing, is voice-enabled services. Because we all know that, and we all believe that 900 million people in India are connected to the internet, they're accessing e-services. But when we say that, we also realize that 500 million people are not yet connected. And for the last 500 million people to get connected, we will need services in Indian languages, all kinds of, and more importantly, voice-enabled services. Just like I can talk to an Alexa or a Siri and ask for something, can I go to an app and say that, like, what is the price of paddy in the nearest market, or where do I get fertilizers, or even ask questions related to education or nutrition, any kind of thing. Ask a question and get back a reply in voice in my mother tongue. So that is what the future is, and we have tried that on the Umang app for some services, wherein you can find blood group of a particular group, के B positive blood group कहाँ मिलेगा. So based on your location, it will tell you Safdarjung अस्पताल में 4 unit available है. So and these responses come in voice. So this is going to big impact. And when we tried these services on the Umang app, we also tried if input is voice and backend में सब AI वगैरह हो रहा है, that's all Bhashini and other APIs, language tools, generative AI, all of it is working. So if my input is voice and output is voice, then I can offer the same service on a feature phone with a toll-free number, wherein a person with a 2,000 rupees phone makes a call on a toll-free number and asks the same query ki paddy ka कीमत क्या है या blood group कहाँ मिलेगा या any question, and gets back to the reply on voice. So that's the potential, that's where we are headed to. Already we have built some voice-enabled services, but in the next 3 to 5 years, it will be the reality. And then talking about, in fact, I must acknowledge the support that we get, especially from WhatsApp and Meta for various services. Like WhatsApp is a very kind of something which Indians love. And it's designed in a very simple manner, it's very easy to use, and a lot of people using it. So WhatsApp will also become like a mode of service delivery, not only as a chatbot, but also with a voice bot. In fact, we all heard about Jugalbandi last year, when the Jugalbandi demo was done with Satya Nadella, and then he started speaking about it at Davos and Microsoft Developer Summit, and this year also when he was here, he had an interaction with the Jugalbandi team. So Jugalbandi does the same thing also. It allows access to various services with a voice command on a WhatsApp interface, and you make that and you get back the voice command there. So whether you want to ask about a question of maths, or whether you want to ask about why tides occur, or whether you want to ask about government schemes, like if the example that we were shown to him, like a farmer living in UP, what are the schemes the government offers, and the backend to the My Scheme interface gives that answer. So this use of AI, especially with language-related technologies, with generative AI, making things easier, simpler to available access on interfaces like WhatsApp, where one doesn't have to go to a website or download an app or navigate a CAPTCHA, a very complex CAPTCHA, which most of us struggle to do. So that is the future that I'm seeing, and that's where AI will make a big, big impact in the way we deliver public services in the country.
Thank you so much. Shivnath, how about you?
Yeah, I'll just kind of build on what Abhishek is saying, also very difficult, because he has already successfully demonstrated all of these. So whether it's through Bhashini or whether it's through Jugalbandi, actually his team has already demonstrated what AI can do. I mean, just to break it down the way companies like Meta sees it, in a very, very layman term, AI inside our company, we joke, it is like nothing but an autofill tool. When you type, it predicts what you're going to say, which is what the starting point of AI is. What Abhishek has already experimented saying, like, build it on voice. Now, you always have to look at AI in terms of use cases. In India, one of the critical things that Abhishek touched upon is local language. Do we have enough capability to build Indic language solutions? And that doesn't exist till date. It is being done. There are many companies like Sarvam, for example, out of IIT Chennai, where we are collaborating with them to develop it. But I think more important, again, coming back to the point Abhishek made, is AI is a great buzzword. What is your delivery point? Where will you interact with AI? Today, you confront AI when you are either writing an email or writing a message. That is the point. And behind the power of AI is something called large language models, which is, again, the way Abhishek described, imagine that you never have to ever type www. That is where the world is headed, right? You never have to go to an internet browser to search, because what you will have is the power of a device. Forget it is WhatsApp, the delivery point, but behind that is the power of large language models. What is a large language model doing? It's going across all the World Wide Web and giving us the best answer. So imagine we grew up, firstly, I did journalism when there was no internet. Second, the next generation did when they could do Google search everything. The third generation will do it talking to a phone and doing research. Look at what it will mean for those who cannot read today, who cannot understand your language. Today, if Abhishek were to be speaking in English, everybody would be hearing it in Hindi in their own language. It is possible. It is already happening. Real-time translations, real-time text translation, everything is going to happen. Now, what will that mean for society is what we should think of. I mean, companies like yours should be thinking of what will it mean to solve for their problems at that point in time, and everything is instant and real time happening in front of them. I think that's where the immense opportunity lies, and I think the power of Digital India is really the driving force of it. I think I'm very excited over the next decade as to what this will bring about.
Excellent, excellent. I think, yeah, here at Rocket Learning too, we really, really believe in the power of AI for, generalization, for making, that's what's going to help us reach the scale that India needs, right? India needs a low-cost, scalable solution. So we couldn't agree with you more. Just the last question to both of you, I think, about partnerships with civil society and how do you see the space of digital transformation in ECCE going forward, right? What does the future look like, and what are some of the things that you would like to see, or how would you like the partnerships to go?
Yeah, in fact, I must add that the story of India's digital transformation, the story of Digital India is not the story of only the government. It's a classic case. In fact, the G20 and other countries are looking into it. The institutions that were built, the partnerships that were built with industry, we have spoken about the partnership with Meta, but the foundation stone, the Aadhaar project, was also led by one of the stalwarts of Indian industry, Mr. Nandan Nilekani. He came and built it, and that's how Aadhaar is literally the foundation of all that we have built, the edifice that we have built on top of it, or digital payments, or DigiLocker. And it has been a classic case of partnership, not only with the government and the private sector, but also the not-for-profit sector, the civil society, the volunteers, as we call it. In fact, in no other sector, we have the involvement of volunteers as much as we have in this sector, in the building of India stack. So whether it's iSpirit, or whether it's eGov Foundation, or whether it's Ek Step. So we have partners across the ecosystem. And all these partners have come up with the intent of trying to contribute with their knowledge, expertise to do that. Lately, we are seeing even Poshan Tracker or Diksha, or what organizations like Rocket Learning are doing, funded by foundations, contributing for the larger social cause, augmenting the capacity that is there within the government, and in many ways bridging the capacity gap, because very often government has its own way of staffing and the own way of people who continue for a long period, and especially on technology projects, we need interventions, we need people who know what's the latest and what more can be done, or look at data analytics, look at aspects which are not there even in the project when it was conceptualized. Because very often government, if I have a project which is approved, it becomes very difficult to go out of the scope of that project. But in every project, midway, we need to understand what more can be done. And that gap which is existing, that governance gap that is existing, is being met by many of these not-for-profits, many of these organizations which are working in the social sector, contributing to that. And when this partnership happens based on trust, when the government starts trusting the private sector partner or the not-for-profit partner, then magic happens. And that's what we are seeing it happening. It has happened in tech, it's happening in other sectors, and hopefully it will help, it will contribute, all of us will work together to making the Amrit Kal India, or the India at 47 that we are all aiming for.
Yeah, you know, I'll just keep it short by just saying that firstly, we can't do it alone. I mean, maybe a big company, etc., but I wouldn't be here if not for you guys. So who cares if one company comes and does a lot of business here? Many companies do it, but till you connect with civil society, till you connect with real life heroes such as all of you, we exist, but nobody talks about us. So I think, number one, we can't do it alone. The second thing, like Abhishek said, I think you ain't seeing nothing yet in India. I think what we are sitting on today is great, but the greatness is about to come purely because of the sheer entrepreneurial hunger and the desire to innovate on simple solutions. One of the jokes I have internally, and Priya will kill me if I say it, I keep pushing engineers sitting out of California saying, who are you solving for? Where there is not much to solve for. You need to come and solve for in a country which has over 1 billion population, over 1 billion users for your own company, and the best use case where the government is saying, please come and solve for it with us. And civil society is willing to build on it. I think we are, if not first on takeoff, we are already taking off. And I think if companies like ours don't build on solutions in partnership with civil society, we will be the loser.
Sorry about the mic mayhem. But yeah, I think we just want to thank both our panelists for such a wonderful and insightful and very encouraging and upbeat conversation. I think I'm definitely inspired, and thank you so much for brightening our day.